We're going to begin working on this Admiral 20X122. This is a completely solid piece of Bakelite plastic cabinet. Here's the chassis that I've pulled out of it, and you can notice the broken socket off of the picture tube there immediately, but also the condition of the set. It must have been in a garage or a place where there was a lot of moisture, as quite a bit of rust and deterioration on the set. We're going to attempt to repair this picture tube by soldering wires on the end of the picture tube, but I wanted to give you a look at the overall condition of the set. That's the speaker plug right there, by the way, that I unplugged the speaker and left it in the chassis. This TV came in a number of different models, tabletop and floor models, and mine came with its own mouse rat's nest. There's the tuner and the IF section underneath that metal cover, and we're just going to get a look at the chassis underneath here so that we've got a record of the component layout. I've got schematics for this set, which is not a problem, but I just want to make sure that I get some really good documentation. You can see quite a few paper capacitors in there, quite a few less than I expected, but probably 20 or so. So we'll end up replacing all of those. Also, the set had a brightener on it, a picture tube brightener, which was an indication of the condition of the picture tube. Probably was dim, and so somewhere along the line someone added this brightener. But we're going to see what we can do. I don't know that we can salvage the picture tube, and those are not easily found. We'll get the set cleaned up and get the mouse nest out of here, and we'll then proceed to take a look at the end of the picture tube. Okay, I'm working on the Admiral set here, and as we mentioned, the socket has been torn off of the set, and I believe that the only pins that are used on this set are this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it'd be pins 10, 11, 12, and 1 and 2. I do know that pins 12 and 1 are the filament. So the only pins that exist on this TV set are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 pins on this set and 5 wires being used. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're checking continuity of the tube, trying to track down the pins for the filament, and there are pins protruding from the base of the tube here, so I'm able to check continuity on these pins. And as we move around, I discovered that there are missing pins over here on the left side. They're completely missing, and you can see I'm feeling for a surface of a pin. So the pins that I am able to check, as it turns out, aren't hooked to anything at all inside the tube. And so I'm just going to expedite the video at this point, and just wanted to illustrate the attempt to locate the filament connections on the tube, and was going to clean these pins a little bit and see if I could get something to attach to the pins that are exposed. Alright, we've got the set turned back up on the bench here, and I'm going to attempt to solder a piece of rigid wire to the end of one of these tube pins, and I identified the filament pins over on this side of the tube right here, and there's not much of a tube pin sticking out there. I can just barely feel something on the edge of the tube, so I'm going to try to see if I can get it to take any solder. I've already put some flux on the pins, and I brushed the pins as clean as I could, and I'm attempting to solder. There are some videos on YouTube where guys have done this successfully, where they've had one or two broken pins, but I don't know that anybody has tried to dig out below the glass envelope to get to any of the pins. But I'm not having much success here, as you can see, just not even finding really the end of the tube pin. So we're going to switch to a microscope view here in a moment and see if we can actually see any pin protruding out of the picture tube base, and then if we do, we will be able to solder something to it. But if there's no pin, actually not enough metal sticking out there, we're just not going to be able to salvage this tube. So let's move on to a microscope and see what we can see. Okay. All right, now we're going to come over to the picture tube socket, and we're going to try to take a look at the pins. First of all, let's find one that we can actually see. Okay, there's the tube, as you can see. Okay, there are some pins. We're moving around, and you're going to see the mark that I made on the tube right there. That was one that had continuity, and we're looking at the pin, but let's see if I can get a different angle. You can see the pin down inside the glass. See it? Alright, and then I'm going to bring a knife up in here and try to scratch that. And I'm going to come down to this other one because I can't figure that one out. Right, you see the mark, and you can see the pin. See the mark. The pin is right there, and obviously it doesn't exist. Yeah. Yeah, the tip of the blade, I'm touching the pin. So the cut the wire broke off inside the glass. Right, I'm going to come up to the other one, and that where the tip of the blade is, that's the, I'm scraping, I'm probably scraping glass away. I'm not sure what I'm scraping away there. But I'm touching the tip of the wire. You can see the hole, kind of the pit there. I know it's very, very hard to tell what we're looking at. I've got that right there is the tip of the lead. I'm trying to clean it away. See it? See the lead? That's the lead coming through the glass, and there's nothing there above the glass. So now you can see inside the envelope. And let's go down to the other one. That's the filament lead right there. And let's come down to the other. Well, that was the bottom one. You see, actually you can see them both there side by side almost. So there's one, and there's just no element, no lead sticking out. And there's the other one, if I can get it focused for you. There. So you see that those two leads are completely missing. If they were like these, let me get one that you can see here. There's one coming out. I can get it focused now. See, if they were like those, see how it's coming out of the glass there? I could solder something to them. But this tube is shot. So that means that we have got to get another picture tube. So I'm going to go on our favorite place and see if I can find one and get one shipped out here. Because without a picture tube, we're not doing anything. And then the next worst issue we've got is the flyback, but it doesn't seem to be burned, it's just dirty. Let me give you a close-up of the flyback. And I mean, I don't see any evidence of any flames or burns. Just really dirty. And then of course we've got this transformer, power transformer, where the rectifier tube bolts right in. So, well, that's too bad. But you know what? If you knew what I gave for this set, you wouldn't feel bad for me. So I'm going to go ahead and see what I can find online. Okay, well, as I mentioned in my previous video, this tube is a goner. So I've removed the front bracket here that holds it at the base of the front of the tube. And the strap, of course, is rotted away, chewed away by mice, I believe. And as you can see here, we've got the ion trap. I just loosened it, so we'll slide it off. Let's see, we need to remove the anode, second anode. There we go. And I believe it should just pull out. Yeah. It slides right out of the yoke. You take one more look at the end of the tube there. The bad. Of course, a lot of the silver is missing on the tube. It's called Aquadag. It's a graphite coating on the inside and outside of the tube. So hopefully the replacement will work. I've got an exact replacement and on the way, so we'll see how that goes. But I want to show you the chassis now, condition of the chassis. There's the chassis without the picture tube, and I'm going to go ahead and upload this video, and we'll pick up with the new tube, or the replacement tube. It's not new, but I'm going to do some cleanup of the chassis here. You can see it's a pretty big mess. And I'm sure you can see the rust. I'm very concerned about the rust, and there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not going to do a professional restoration, but mainly things like these transformers or alignment. Well, that's cleaning up. There's another one there. See, this is the tuner. You can tell there's the two tubes for the tuner. So there's some work to be done here for sure, and I need to put some oil or solvent or something on those screws so that if and when the time comes for me to adjust them, I can adjust them. I need to replace this hardened material, rubberized material, for the tube to set in, and I'll find an old belt or something and replace this strap. But you can see all the tubes are still there. So I'll get those tubes identified and take them out of the set. I've got schematics from the rider manuals. Here's a panel there that gives us access to the IF section of the tuner. I mean of the set. So I really just want to document. The dust getting to me. I want to document the work that will need to be done. I need to take this outside and blow the dust off of it very carefully. And see, I think those looked like they're in really bad condition. Oh, I did put some navel jelly right there and right there, and of course it did remove the rust, but I'm not going to do that to the whole set. It's just not that important to me. But it is a mess, isn't it? I think taking it outside and blowing it gently with the compressed air will go a long way. And then so I'll go ahead and post that video. I'll post this video when I get the chassis clear of the dust, and then we'll wait for the replacement tube to come in, and we'll probably replace these power caps here. There's a couple underneath. There's one back around the side there. The electrolytics, and there's a couple of paper caps underneath that we saw, as you saw in the pictures that I posted. So let's see. The chassis, excuse me, the cabinet is right here. Turn some lights on. There we go. And you can see the cabinet. There used to be a tube chart right there. There's the magnet, or the speaker. I need to find or make one knob. I think I'm going to experiment. Look at how the cardboard's been chewed away on the bezel. And that used to be a foam band all the way around that bezel. That's what's left of the foam, and you can see that it used to be all the way around. So I got to clean that plastic screen protector off, and quite a bit more cleaning to do on the set, but it's in remarkable condition. And I would love to find a replacement back. Might be able to make one. And and I also need to make a metal cover for the X-ray or high voltage protection. We made a cover here with screws, and I'm assuming that it snapped in and slid in underneath these terminals, so I think you can make one out of metal pretty easily. Okay, well, there you have it. We've got the chassis out of the cabinet and tested the picture tube for a possibility of being able to resolder some pins on the back of the tube, and was not a possibility. I was really being careful. I didn't want to rupture the tube and have an explosion. And I was wearing eye protection when I was piddling with that picture tube. Probably should have had gloves and everything, but I was being real careful. But you can't fiddle around with those tubes. If they implode, glass goes everywhere, so you have to be real careful. So I gave it my best shot, and I've got a tube on order, and it'll be here in a week or so. And we should be able to continue with the repair. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and get that chassis cleaned up, and we'll move on to the next phase of this repair video. Hope you enjoyed what you've seen so far, and if you have any advice or other insight on the chassis cleanup, I would appreciate your insight. Thanks again for watching The Vintage Tech.